Hey everyone, welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're taking a really deep dive into the mechanics of building real, lasting wealth. We're breaking down the core principles from this brilliantly insightful text, From Here to Financial Happiness. You know, if you've ever found yourself wondering why some people just seem effortlessly secure while others are constantly stressing over money, well, you're absolutely in the right place. We're going to map out a playbook that can totally transform your financial trajectory. And don't worry, this isn't about complex Wall Street jargon, it's about the everyday decisions that quietly shape your future. So let's just dive right in.
I want to kick things off by throwing a pretty provocative question your way. Would you rather buy a luxury car or buy the company that makes it? That kind of sounds like a trick question, right? But think about how we usually define success. Is it the flashy things we own or the invisible assets we control? To really grasp this wealthy mindset, we actually need to look at a fascinating real-world story from our source material about two friends. Let's call them Sam and Bob.
So picture this. Back in 2018, Bob showed up to meet his friend Sam, who happens to be a financial advisor. And Bob rolls up in a brand new, flashy Tesla Model 3. He's showing it off, bragging about the autopilot feature, the sleek interior, literally controlling the thing right from his phone. The whole shebang. Cost him 53 grand. Now, Sam loved the car. I mean, he felt the temptation for sure. The new car smell, that insane instant acceleration, who wouldn't want that? But instead of giving in to the urge to buy a depreciating asset, Sam quietly calculated the opportunity cost. He realized that for that exact same $53,000, he could just buy 228 shares of the company instead. So while Bob drove away in a physical car that immediately started losing value the second it left the lot, Sam made a completely invisible investment.
The payoff for Sam's patience? Absolutely dramatic. Over time, despite some massive market dips where he saw his profits temporarily just vanish, Sam held on. And eventually, the stock skyrocketed to over $1,000 a share. Sam didn't just make a little pocket change, he generated over $114,000 in pure profit. That is incredible. In the end, Sam actually used a fraction of those investment profits to go out and buy his very own Tesla. He got the exact same dream car and he kept a massive chunk of wealth just continuing to grow in the background. Meanwhile, Bob was just left with a 5-year-old used car that probably needed new tires.
So, what does this all mean? The crucial takeaway here is that true wealth is often completely invisible. The real moral of Sam and Bob's story is that the people who are truly doing well financially, well, they don't always look like it. They hide their wealth in stocks, investments, and assets we literally cannot see. The folks who look the wealthiest on the outside, flashing the designer clothes or the absolute latest tech, are often just showing you exactly how much money they no longer have. It is a massive, fundamental shift in perspective. It's moving from looking rich to actually being wealthy.
And that brings us to what we are actually striving for today. We aren't out here chasing some luxurious, show-off lifestyle. We're chasing financial happiness. The source defines this as that comfortable state of living where you simply do not worry about money. Your money actively works in the background to keep you secure. It's all about achieving genuine peace of mind so you can actually focus on what matters in your life, whether that's spending time with family, pursuing a passion, or, honestly, just sleeping soundly at night without financial dread looming over you.
So how exactly do you build this invisible wealth? The source material breaks it down into a playbook with 4 core lessons. First, clear debts first. Second, build a safety net. Third, familiar investing. And fourth, the power of frugality.
All right, let's move right into Lesson 1, Clear Debts First. This is the foundation of freedom. Here's the deal. You have to ruthlessly target your small, high-interest consumer debts. We're talking about financing for mobile phones, laptops, and especially credit cards. Look, a lot of people try to start investing while they're still carrying these kinds of debts. But trying to build wealth with high-interest debt, it's literally like trying to run a marathon with 50-pound weights strapped to your ankles. It just drags down your entire financial progress. The interest you pay will almost always wipe out the returns you make in the market. So clear these out completely before you even think about investing. You can leave the heavy, lower-interest home loans for later, sure, but those consumer debts, they absolutely have to go.
And hey, if you need a little more motivation to tackle those balances, consider this. The source material highlights a really fascinating study of people aged 28 to 50. It reveals that high credit card debt is scientifically linked to physical joint pain and stiffness. No way, right? But it's true. Clearing debt isn't just about your bank account or your mental peace. The stress of bad debt literally takes a physical toll on your body. Getting rid of it is absolutely vital for your health. When you eliminate that toxic debt, you are literally removing a heavy weight from your shoulders and apparently your joints.
Okay, so once you've broken those chains, you need to make sure you never go back. That brings us to Lesson 2, build a safety net, preparing for tomorrow.
When an emergency hits, say a broken laptop, a sudden medical bill, or losing a job, most people reach straight for their credit cards, which throws them right back to square one. To break this cycle, you need a financial safety net, and the logic here is beautifully simple. Step 1. Calculate your bare minimum monthly survival expenses. Step 2. Multiply that number by 6. Step 3. Lock it away in an untouchable bank account. Now remember, this is not a slush fund for a vacation or upgrading your TV. It is your absolute break-glass-in-case-of-emergency survival backup. It's the ultimate buffer between you and financial ruin.
Let's just look at the specific math from the text to make this a bit more tangible. If your monthly bare-bones expenses are, say, $20,000, you just multiply that by 6 months. Boom, your target emergency fund is $120,000. This math is brilliant because it buys you exactly half a year of absolute survival time. If a pandemic hits or your company decides to downsize, you have 6 full months of breathing room to find a new income source without ever facing financial ruin. You won't have to panic, you won't have to take out terrible loans, and you won't be forced to accept a miserable job just to pay next week's rent.
Once you are debt-free and secure, the real fun begins. Let's look at Lesson 3, Familiar Investing. Invest in what you know.
I want to reassure you right now, you do not need a degree in finance to be a fantastic investor. The source relies on the wisdom of legendary investors like Warren Buffett and Peter Lynch, who share an incredibly simple philosophy. Invest in companies whose products you use daily and understand. Seriously, the best investments might literally be sitting in your kitchen cabinet or parked in your garage right now. Think about the products you blindly trust and use every single day. Maybe it's your favorite instant noodles you crave at midnight, the smartphone you're addicted to scrolling, or the car you drive. If you understand the product and believe in its everyday value, that company is a brilliant place to start your research. It beats chasing complicated market trends you barely understand, hands down.
Just notice the drastic contrast in investor behavior we're talking about here. On the one hand, you have the anxiety of day trading, panicking over every tiny dip in the market. It is a stressful way to live. On the other hand, you have Benjamin Graham's intelligent investing approach, trusting the long-term value of a beloved company. Remember Sam and his Tesla stock? At one point, his massive profit turned into a terrifying $20,000 loss, but he didn't panic. He understood the company's long-term value, he held on, and he ultimately won big. Intelligent investing requires patience. It's really just about letting time do the heavy lifting for you.
That brings us to our final critical lesson. Lesson 4, the power of frugality, the compounding effect of habits.
The harsh reality here is that 90% of people fail to achieve financial freedom simply because of terrible, everyday spending habits. Our micro-choices create a massive ripple effect over time. Imagine 2 people on day 1. One spends money mindlessly on junk food delivery, while the other cooks at home and saves that cash. Doesn't seem like a big deal on day 1, right? But fast forward to month 6. One has developed a daily consumer habit that constantly drains their account, while the other has built a solid investment foundation. By year 2, the first person is facing declining health and a completely drained wallet. The frugal person, though, is experiencing growing wealth, vitality, and compounding investments. Frugality isn't about suffering, guys. It's about making choices today that compound in your favor tomorrow. It's deciding what you want most over what you want right now.
To truly master this, the text challenges us with the ultimate frugality goal. Strive to live on just 50% of your income. Now look, I know that sounds incredibly aggressive. For a lot of folks, it feels downright impossible at first glance. But just think about the math. If you can organize your life to live comfortably on half of what you make and aggressively invest the other half, your invisible wealth will compound at an absolutely staggering rate. It is the ultimate fast track to freedom. And hey, even if you just start at saving 10 or 20% and slowly work your way up to that 50% mark, you are fundamentally changing your financial destiny for sure.
I want to wrap up this explainer by leaving you with one powerful question to think about. What small habit will you change today to fund your financial happiness tomorrow? Whether it's canceling some forgotten subscription, skipping that expensive takeout, or finally clearing a lingering credit card balance, the choice is yours. Every penny you redirect is a brick in your invisible wall of wealth. Thank you so much for hanging out with me for this explainer. Now go start building your financial happiness today.